Robertson, Joseph Brand, many of you magnanimous and selfless volunteers, many of you selfless and magnanimous donors, and all of you brave souls who are living with PKD, whether on transplant or not, and their supporting families, ladies and gentlemen. As Jeff said, my name is Ajay Gupta, and I'm the most fortunate recipient of an anonymous cadaver kidney donor 16 days and 10 hours ago. I'm just here to suggest to you that there is hope. There's lots of hope, more than you can imagine. And I hope I represent in some measure the concrete evidence of that. When Jeff called earlier this week and asked whether I would be willing to share my thoughts, my spontaneous reaction was yes, if you think I'll contribute value. And then he said, I'll have about an hour to talk, and I said, no. 45 minutes is more than enough. Before I go further, I want to seek your indulgence for a minute or two and introduce my immediate family and friends who are here in attendance. The love of my life, Aruna. My elder brother Himanshu, who flew in from India 2 days ago. I'll tell you more about him in a minute or so. My daughter Radhika. She's a very passionate and committed volunteer. Our son Rahul, who used to be here every year, but he's studying at State University of New York Medical School, and he's preparing for his exams tomorrow, so he couldn't come in. We have two very dear friends who've been like a brother and a sister to us, Ramani and Suman. And I won't put them on the spot by telling you more, but they're God's people. And last but not the least, the youth of today. I referred to hope earlier, and I'll tell you why I'm so optimistic. A lot of friends of my daughter and son, of our daughter and son, have spontaneously donated money while being full-time students. And that tells you a lot.
Nikki K!
They're represented by Nicole in the corner here. Raise your hand. I'm the youngest of 5 siblings, and the 3 younger ones have inherited the PKD gene. So I refer to my brother Himanshu, elder brother Himanshu. He underwent a successful live unrelated kidney transplant in Bombay, India 24 years ago. Under some very trying circumstances, and for about 2+ years leading up to the transplant, he and his better half, Renu, who's not here, they went through everything with grace, extraordinary restraint, and always with a smile. And they've been my primary inspiration for the last nearly 6 years that I've been on the transplant waiting list and the dialysis. The third sibling who has PKD is unfortunately can't be here. Is my third sister who lives in New Zealand and has been on hemodialysis for a few years. She's had it a bit rougher than me, but the remarkable thing is she's never stopped working and never stopped smiling. So hopefully her turn will come soon too. I told you about Himanshu and how he dealt with the situation along with his wife. And therefore I brought on a largely free ride in terms of the learning. I saw how they dealt with it, and I knew that it was manageable. Incidentally, in the run-up to his transplant, when I was getting tested to be the donor, that's when I found out I had inherited the gene as well. But I had no symptoms, and I was healthy, as you can imagine. So I became aware of it in 1986, And I had a very, very healthy and regular life till 95, when I began to show symptoms of high blood pressure. And even then, for 10 years, I was largely on BP medication, and that's it. The other thing I want to mention very, very emphatically is that I have benefited from the prayers of all those around me. And I know for a fact a lot of them added me to their daily prayers, giving me the top slot. Many others, some of whom are here, offered to donate, make a live donation. And not only did they offer, they persisted for a very long time. And we slowly persuaded them that I was not facing a threat to my life. And we may or may not consider it when the time comes, but I'm doing pretty well despite the dialysis. So I don't know what else to tell you. Going back to the transplant, considering the enormity of the surgery I've gone through and the literal miracle that I've had, it was exceptionally swift. I got the call at 4:10 a.m. on the 8th morning. 23 hours later, I was already transplanted. And the process was so smooth that the only example I can think of is a precise launch from NASA. Incidentally, Ramani is an ex-NASA scientist. I'm still quite overwhelmed and overawed by what I've experienced, and I can't tell you enough about the Toronto General Hospital and team. Is Dr. Payne here still? Dr. Payne? Dr. Payne, everybody at PKD, without exception, deserves a big salute. Thank you. I have always had enormous respect for our medical institutions, and I have seen Toronto General and Oakville Hospital up close. But now it's at a different level. My appreciation for the God's work they do has grown 1,000 times over. These are extraordinary individuals. They're not there to do a job. It's their true calling. And they give day after day without regard for the clock, for their meal times. And the bigger thing is, they have no expectation of gratitude or acknowledgement. Their sole focus is to give us the best possible care in the most compassionate manner without losing politeness even for a microsecond. Hats off to them. I don't know how they do it, but I've seen it. And as a first-generation immigrant, I can tell you, we are very, very fortunate to be living in Canada and in the GTA area, where we have institutions like Toronto General and Oakville Hospital within a stone's throw. We couldn't be any more fortunate. Post-transplant, I can't tell you too much, you judge for yourself, but I'm here 16 days later talking to you. The few things that probably would be of interest to you are, there is a fairly strong and exacting regimen on medication. You're supposed to avoid extended sun exposure. That explains the hat and the SPF. You are more vulnerable to even ordinary infections because you're immune compromised. So you have to take precautions. But you know what? It beats the heck out of doing dialysis every night, carrying a 40-pound dialyzer with you everywhere you go, carrying a 15-pound voltage converter if you go to a 220-volt country, and basically it complicating your travel plans every time you contemplate one, even on an overnight trip. So I have nothing but thanks to the transplant. And finally, some of the most valuable lessons that have kind of leaped at me, having gone through this transplant, it was most incredible. And my biggest hope is that I do not lose sight of them as I slowly integrate back into my mundane life. And in no particular order, they are as follows. I'm not alone. It's back. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay. So the first one, in no particular order, is I'm not alone. In fact, the others carry a much bigger burden than I've ever had to. I try to remember the two rules. Don't sweat the small stuff. Number two, almost everything is small stuff. The corollary is go and have a cookie, enjoy yourself. Pain is inevitable when you go through something like this. But I'm not sure suffering is. It's debatable, largely depends on your point of view. It's the mind over matter thing, you know. Most of the pain can be dealt with here instead of in your body. The only way to receive is to give without thought. But what I'm wondering is, in my case, how did the equation get reversed? I haven't found the answer yet. There are more than enough angels looking out for me. I haven't learned to recognize them well enough and early enough. Have unflinching faith. The cosmos is itching to deliver. It's just waiting for a cogent signal from me that I'm ready to receive the gift. I'm eagerly looking to the rest of my life, which started 16 days ago. More importantly, I truly believe that my best years are ahead of me yet. Bless your heart. Thank you.
We know all too well how many lives are impacted by PKD. We know that you are standing here today because PKD has made a major impact in your life.